Okay, it looks like we are all set. Let me share my screen.
We want to study the picture.
Looks like I shared. Okay, no, it's still not coming.
Beautiful, Kindle.
Oh, here we go. Now it looks like we have the Chumash and the Tanya. Okay, let's start off with the Chumash. We're starting Parshas Chukas. Right, we finished with Korach. Now it goes to the Para Aduma, the red heifer, and other laws. Oh, two people are waiting in the red heifer, and also the laws of Tuma and Tara, the purity and impurity, which are related to that. So let's get right into it. Vayadaber Hashem al Moshe vel Aaron Lamar. The Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, "Zayis chukas haTorah." This is a statute of the Torah, and you may know the difference between, there's mishpatim, three types of laws in general in the Torah, right? Mishpatim, eidos, and chukim, right? Mishpatim are laws that we kind of know. Every society knows them on their own. We understand them completely. Don't kill, don't steal, don't bribe judges, things like that. They should be basic to everyone's understanding. Eidos are laws that we wouldn't know them, but once we're told them, we understand them. Like, Hashem took you out of Egypt, and it was very hasty, and therefore we're going to celebrate it now because our bread could not rise, and we're going to eat matzah. Or Hashem, even Shabbos, Hashem created the world in 6 days and then rested on the seventh, and we're going to rest on the seventh. So no, you wouldn't have thought of it on your own, but now that you're told it, and it's understandable. Chukim, the one, Zayis Chukas HaTorah, the epitome of a chayk, a law that was not understood, is this one right here that we're going to learn right now. So let's see. You should, God told the Jewish people, told Moshe and Aaron to tell the Jewish people, they should take for themselves a perfectly red, unblemished cow. Asher ein ba mum, that has no blemish. Asher le ala oil, and no yoke was put upon it. So you can't have used it for any type of plowing or any type of work. Let's see if people are waiting here. Okay, let's look what Rashi says. This is a statute of the Torah, Lefisha Satan, because Satan and the other nations of the world would say, what is this commandment? What purpose does it have? Therefore, the Torah uses the term chok, a statute. I have decreed it, and you have no right to challenge it. In other words, this is not something that you can understand with your mind. It's something that is just a decree, a statute from Hashem. And have them take it for you. It would always be called on your name, the cow which Moses prepared in the desert. Aduma tmima, perfect red. It shall be perfect in redness, so that 2 black hairs disqualify it. If it even has 2 black hairs, it is disqualified. I remember, I don't remember how long it was, maybe 10, 15 years ago, when somebody, found a cow that they thought was going to be a Parah Aduma and maybe a sign of Mashiach. And I believe in the end they found that it was not. It had some other hairs. Even 2 black hairs disqualify it from being a true Parah Aduma. Pasuk Gimel. So what do you do with it? You shall give it to Elazar the Kohen, and he takes it outside the camp and he slaughters it in his presence. Elazar, the mitzvah was performed by Elazar, the deputy Kohen Gadol, not by Aaron. Outside the camp, outside all 3 camps. There are 3 camps, and he did it outside all of them. We're going to see what we did with it afterwards. And slaughtered in his presence. A non-kohen slaughters it while Elazar watches. So actually, the kohen himself does not shecht, slaughter the cow. Elazar the kohen, he takes from its blood with his finger and he sprinkles it towards the tent of meeting, the oil mayed, 7 times, and also in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. Oh, it says in Rashi, the later generations, when this was done in the Beis Hamikdash, he stands to the east of Yerushalayim. He directs his gaze towards the entrance of the temple while he sprinkles the blood from the Para Aduma. Okay, but what else? What do we do with this Para Aduma afterwards? V'saraf es para le'einam es eirav es psarav es damav al pirsha yisra. The cow is completely burned. This is after it's already been shechted. It's completely burned. Its hide, its flesh, its blood, even its dung shall burn in it. V'lakach hakoyin eitz erez ve'ezoi ushnisoi las v'hishlach hateich streifas apara. And the kohen throws inside a piece of cedar wood, hyssop, and crimson wool, and cast them into the burning of the cow. V'chibes begadav al hakoyin. And afterwards, the kohen shall wash his garments and bathe his flesh in water, because right now he became tamei. When the kohen does this process of the para aduma, he becomes himself in need of the para aduma's sprinkling, because he becomes tamei himself. So he has to rachat b'sarei b'mayim v'achar yavi alamachim v'tamei hakohen ada aret. He has to bathe himself in water, and then he can come into the camp, and he's unclean until the evening. Even afterwards, he's unclean all the way till evening, and then he can join the machana, the camp. So let's see what Rashi has to say. El hamachana, he can enter the camp of the divine presence, because no ritually unclean person is banished from 2 camps, except one who experienced a flow, and one who experienced a seminal emission, or one who effectuates a saras. Hence, he is admitted to one camp from which he was banished. So unlike other types of tuma, which you banned from 2 camps, he's only banned from 1. And the kohen is unclean until the evening. Sirsru, the verse is backwards. Transpose it, the verse, and explain it thus: he shall be unclean until evening, and then he may enter the camp. Because it said, the verse says, and he may enter the camp, and the kohen shall be unclean until evening. Wait, what's going on? Usually, it's the opposite. First, he's going to be unclean until evening. Once he becomes pure, he's able to enter the camp. Pasuk number ches. Basarif Isai, the one who burns it, Yechabes begadav b'mayim, shall wash his clothes in water, v'rachatz b'sari b'mayim, and should cleanse his body in water. V'tamei ad ha'arav, and he's unclean until the evening. V'asaf ishtar. Now, what the continuation of what happens with these ashes once it's burnt and now it's ashes. So v'asaf ishtar as ephod hapara v'niach mechutz lamachana. Somebody who's clean, who's ritually clean, gathers the cow's ashes and places them outside the camp in a clean place. It should be a safekeeping for the congregation of the children of Israel for sprinkling water used for cleansing. So now they're going to use these ashes whenever they need to do a cleansing. But let's see where they brought it, because I believe Rashi is going to explain where they brought it. And placed them outside the camp. Oh, the shloisha chalakim mechalka. They divided it into 3 parts. These ashes, they divided into 3 parts. One was put on the Mount of Olives, right? One was divided among all the watches, and one who put on the rampart surrounding the temple area. So the one who given to the watches was outside the courtyard, so we're going to explain why we needed these 3 areas. The one given to the watches was outside the courtyard, allowing access to it from the inhabitants of outlying cities. Whoever needed to purify himself was able to come to that outside one. The one on Mount Olives, I think that was for the Kohanim. Was for the Kohanim Gedolim to sanctify themselves from it for use with other paradumas. So, because remember, the Kohen himself has to purify himself. So they made one pile specifically for him, one outside. That was for anybody outside of the city that's coming, outside of the courtyard that's coming. It will be easily accessible for them. And the one put on the rampart was kept as a keepsake by scriptural ruling. Interesting. And the last one was just from, because the Torah said, it shall be as a keepsake for the congregation of Israel. The pasuk says that there should be v'hoiso la'adas b'nei Yisrael l'mishmeras, and because of that, the third pile was l'mishmeras, as a safekeeping or a keepsake. For sprinkling water are used for sprinkling, as in they cast a stone at me. The Rashi is just explaining where the wording comes from. Chatas hu, or chatas he, actually, for purification. So again, Rashi just explains the word chatas comes from chatui, expression of cleansing. But it also comes from the word chatas, like a sin offering, to tell us that it's like a holy object, and using it for personal benefit is forbidden. You can't start using the paraduma for your own sprinkling frivolities. I don't know who wants to do that, but whoever does, you can't. Number 10, pasuk yud. And the one who gathers the cow's ashes shall wash his clothes, and he shall be unclean until evening. He also becomes unclean. So not just the kohen, also the person gathering the ashes becomes clean. It shall be an everlasting statute for the children of Israel and for the ger who resides in their midst. Okay, now we're going to go on, I think, to any type of somebody who, how do you become tamei, that you may need to become tahar? How do you become ritually unclean in order to then need to become ritually clean? And again, anyone touching the corpse of a human soul shall become unclean for 7 days. Simply put, who is chatav by b'yom hashlishi b'yom hashvi yitar im lo yischatav b'hem b'yom hashlishi b'yom hashvi lo yitar. On the 3rd and 7th days, he shall cleanse himself with it, so that he can become clean with these ashes that we were just talking about. Rashi says that. But if he does not sprinkle himself with it on the 3rd and 7th day, he shall not become clean. So it's not just if you touch it, but let's see what else happens. Hashem timeh. He does not whoever touches the corpse of a human soul which dies and he does not cleanse himself, he's defiled Mishkan of Hashem, and that soul shall be cut off from Israel. It gets kares, for the sprinkling water was not sprinkled on him, so he remains unclean, and his uncleanness remains upon him. So corpse of a human soul, Rashi says, which type of corpse? That of a human soul, to exclude an animal, that its uncleanness does not require sprinkling. Another explanation of a human soul refers to a quarter of a lug of blood necessary for maintaining life. In other words, there's a measurement of what is considered, what will make you tamei. What does it mean he has defiled the Mishkan of Hashem? This is if he enters the courtyard, even after ritual immersion, that if you were not sprinkled on the 3rd and 7th day. His uncleanliness remains, although he ritually immersed himself. If you do not do the full process, you have not completed it. You gotta follow the doctor's instructions. Number 14. This is the law of a man dies in a tent. Anyone entering the tent and anything in the tent shall be unclean for 7 days. So it's not just if you touch a corpse. You also have to be worried about going into a tent that has a corpse in there. And that's why we are today very careful, especially for kohanim, if they're going into places that they can become tamei. Kolabola. Rashi just says, obviously, they were talking about while the corpse is inside the tent. That's when you cannot enter. And any open vessel which has no seal also becomes tamei. And Rashi's going to right away say this is talking about an earthenware vessel whose exterior does not accept contamination, only its interior. Therefore, if it doesn't have a seal, it becomes contaminated. Okay, pasuk Tezayin. Anyone who touches one slain by sword, or a corpse or a human bone or a grave in an open field, he shall be unclean for 7 days. So there's other ways that you become tamei. He shall take for that unclean person from the ashes of the burnt purification offering, and it shall be placed in a vessel with spring water. And we're going to continue, Mir Hashem, God willing, we're going to continue tomorrow to talk about all these different laws of Tumah and Tahara, purity and impure and ritually impure uncleanness. Okay, let us go to the Tanya of today. So we're in Sharich Domino. We're actually at a new parak in Tanya, right? We finished yesterday the 9th chapter of Tanya, and we're starting the 10th chapter. Okay, let's read this note. Concluding the previous chapter, the Alter Rebbe explained that since God is infinitely exalted above intellect, right? Therefore, our intellect is inadequate to grasp his absolute union with the spheros of the world of Atzilus. Despite the fact that the spheros of Atzilus is limited, the Zohar thus terms these attributes the secret of faith, for their union with the divine is beyond mortal comprehension. Let's go into it. Nevertheless, despite the fact that the spheres transcend intellect and comprehension, right? We always say this, that Torah speaks in the language of man, right? It has to be in a way that's, we have to be able to connect to it. In order to modulate for the ear what is able to hear, therefore, permission was granted to the Kabbalists, basically the people who are explaining the spheres, to speak about the spheres in a way of a mashal, like a parable. So the Rebbe puts a note over here that the term mashal means that it's not exactly identical. When you say a mashal, right, it's never exactly identical to the nimshal. The parable is never exactly, I'm not sure what the word is for the nimshal, for the analogy is never exactly similar to the thing you're trying to compare it to. But there's got to be a similarity between those relationships, and in critical points they have to be similar. Here, for instance, the sun's rays and the sun do not compare in any way at all to the Sefirot and their source. The analogy refers only to the manner in which the sun's rays are united with the sun itself. This analogy makes it easier for us to comprehend the unity of the Sefirot with their source. So yes, the sun and its rays is just an analogy. It's just an analogy, right? You can't comprehend HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Sefirot just from this analogy. It's not exactly the same, obviously, right? But it's there just to put one point of how the rays and the sun are one. And that point can be learned from this analogy. So let's continue. What did the Kabbalists, as it says over here in brackets, the Kabbalists, the Karuais on Oirais, they called the Sefirot, they called them lights, right? Kedei shal yedei hamashal hazeh, so that by means of this mashal, this metaphor, yuvan lanu ktsas inyan hayichud shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu u'midaisa. We'll be able to understand the unity of Hashem and His attributes. Shehud b'derech mashal ke'in yichud or hashemesh shebeseich haguf kadur hashemesh im guf hashemesh nikra mar. This is similar to this unity of the sunlight that is within the sun itself. As a Mar Hagadol, as it is written, the Mar Hagadol, the great luminary, V'aziv, v'hanitzus, hamispashet, umeir, mimenu, nikra'ar. And anything that comes out of the sun, we call it light. And God called this light day. When the light is in the sun, right? It's completely nullified, completely part of the sun. It doesn't have an entity of its own, right? When this light is in the sun, it has no mitzias. It has no its own vitality. It's completely absorbed by the sun. Ki ein sham rak etzem echad shehu guf hamar hameir. For there, within the sun, there's only one entity, namely the body of the luminary which emits light. Let's look at this note. It would hardly be reasonable to say that within the orb of the sun, there exists two things: the luminary, in other words, the sun, and its light, the rays of light. Within the sun globe, only the sun itself exists. Because there in the sun, the ray and the light are absolutely one. It has no existence by itself at all. Let's continue. Kidvar ma'ela mamish, precisely in this manner, and even more so, let's now go to the nimshal. Let's go to the other side of the coin. When we're talking about Hashem, the attributes of the Holy One, blessed be He, and His will and wisdom in the world of Atzilus, this is the etzem of Him. They are one in perfect union. Since they come and they are one from Hashem, just like light in the sun. In what way is it different? Let's see. However, it's not exactly in this manner. Just like we started off saying, not always is the mashal and the nimshal exactly the same. In what way? In some aspects, they are the same in the fact that when the eres, when the attributes are one with Hashem, at that time it looks like it's nothing separate from Hashem, right? It doesn't have its own mitzias, it doesn't have its own entity. But once the light comes out, then it has its own rays of light. But in what way is it not similar? Not exactly like the fusion of the sun with the light which is within it, but in a manner which is remote and concealed from our comprehension, for His ways are higher than our ways. So in some aspects, the sun, the rays of the sun and the sun, we can understand very clearly. Welcome, Rachel Blimo. The ways of the sun and the ways of the sun, the rays of the sun versus the sun, we can understand very clearly. But to understand how Atzilus, or the spheres that are in Atzilus, and Hashem are at the same time when they're within Him as one and when they're not as Oirais, this can be harder to understand when we're talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we're talking about Hashem. I want to thank everyone for joining. It looks like this class has grown a lot with so many people joining. It was a pleasure to learn with you today, and I look forward to learning with you over the next week or two.
Yashikov.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
My pleasure,
Thank you,
Sarah.
Rabbi.
Pleasure.
Kramer, you have to show us the
Gray
live feed.
beard. You got gray your beard. And we'll think it's Rabbi Bucket.
Yeah.
Right, just the color gray.
Live feed to Facebook.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. We'll try. We're gonna try. You can't replace Rabbi Bucket, This is impossible. This is an impossible task.
It's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, it's
no
gonna
question.
yeah. All right,
No
have
question.
a wonderful day, everyone.
You too.
Yeah, wonderful week.
Shavua Tov.
And a wonderful week.
Shavua Tov. A wonderful week. Bye-bye.